And that's the problem, yeah. Because the drain pipe goes out from the fence probably another 10 to 12 feet past it. So if we had a problem with the discharge pipe, it would be in the way, you know.
Attention, we're about to begin the meeting of the Terrebonne Parish Council. If you want to speak to the council and have not done so, please fill out the speaker card. It's on either counter, and please give it to the council clerk as soon as possible before we start the meeting here. If you would like to speak and you have not filled out a speaker card. All cell phones, pagers, and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced, please, during the duration of the meeting. Let me check my phone, and it is on silent. So I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Terrebonne Parish Council, Wednesday, June 9th, 2021. And I'd like to call on Miss Jessica Domain to please lead us in a prayer and a pledge. Miss Domain.
Dear Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business. Guide hearts and minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon actions so that decisions may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Miss Margot, roll call.
Mr. Charles Clare. Mr. Navy. Mr. Harding. Mr. Michaud. Mr. Amade. Ms. Domain.
Here.
Mr. Darren Guidry.
Here.
Mr. Babin.
Here.
Mr. Dirk Guidry. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum present.
Thank you very much. Approved minutes of the regular council session held on May 12th, 2021.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Babin, second by Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Distribute minutes of the regular council session held on May 26th, 2021, which we've done. Approve accounts payable bill lists for June 1st, 2021 and June 7th, 2021. Moved by Mr. Babin.
Second.
Second by Ms. Domain. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Show one abstention, Mr. John Amady. Item 1, general business. We are pulling the commendation, acknowledging and commending Houma Fire Chief Keith Ward for his years of service to the Houma Fire Department and Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, and that will be rescheduled. Item 2, staff reports. Update on drainage pump stations, generators, and other projects. Mr. Mike Toops.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Everyone should have gotten their report that I emailed to them this past Monday, but I do have several updates that occurred since then. The first item is West Side Boulevard at St. Louis Canal Road, but I want to save that one for last because I do have a slide presentation to go along with that one. On the pump station at Enterprise Marine, our insurance surveyor went and looked at it. They decided to give us $88,600 for the repairs to the hydraulic power unit. However, they didn't know that the entire pump system was compromised when the pump went down, because these are actual vane pumps and motors. They're very, very sensitive to contaminants. So we're asking them to come back. We're going to pull the pump off and have that sent to the shop, because we feel that the pump has been contaminated, and we are in the process of sending the entire hydraulic power unit to MWI in Fort Lauderdale. That's the people that we bought it from. For D70 Gator Court, that's in Gibson, the pump has been installed, Mr. Harding. The only thing we have left to do is hook up the hydraulics, and that should be done before the end of this week. D35 Gibson Recreation, we have received the parts. The pump has been repaired, and that pump will also be installed by the end of this week. Let's see. We have a couple of more pumps that went down. D45 Tiger Bayou, we have a broken pump shaft. The pump has been pulled. We installed a temporary pump, and we have the pump that has been repaired, and that also has is scheduled to be installed by the end of this week. D3 Upper Montague, there are 3 36-inch pumps, 2 of which are down. 1 pump should be ready for reinstallation by the end of the week. And that pump system has another pump station that pumps it out, and that's at D69, the Pointe-a-Chien Wildlife Pump Station. Also wanted to give y'all an update. We have 2 pump stations that the SCADA panels have been installed. That's at D16 Conscien and D28 Andrew Fungi. We're about 50% on the installation and the integration into our system. Now, at this time, Ms. Suzette, if you can pull up the slides, I'd like to bring y'all up to date on the 30-inch St. Louis Canal pump station at Westside Boulevard. Next slide, please. This is a picture of the 30-inch PVC discharge pipe. As you can see, it's pretty long, so we had to fuse the joints together. Next slide, Ms. Suzette. This is a close-up. This is the 30-inch metal iron elbow and its flange, and then in turn, there's a PVC flange that's attached to the PVC discharge. And if you see the pad where the 2 gentlemen are standing, that's the pad for the hydraulic power unit that powers the pump station. Next slide, please. This is the actual picture of the hydraulic power unit. The white panel on the right is the starter panel. The gray panel on the on the left is the starter panel. The gray panel on the right is the variable frequency drive. This is the panel, the pump unit that has the diesel power motor, and also the electric motor. Next slide, Mrs. Suzette. This is a close-up of the same HPU being installed on the pad. And next slide. President Dove had gravity drainage and force drainage go out and clean all of the major ditches leading to the pump station. That's everything along Alma, Westside Boulevard, and you should have one more slide, Ms. Suzette. And this is another picture of all the ditches that have been cleaned. The last rain event, this pump ran for 9.5 hours, and we figure we pumped out about 15 million gallons of water during this last rain event. So what this does is this stops all of the flash flooding in Broadmoor and Lisa Park, all of the flash flooding along Alma Street, Cascade, all those roads. So in the past, whenever we had major rain events, we would have tons and tons of people call us because of the flash flooding on the roads. This pump station, along with the 2 smaller ones that have been installed previous, has tremendously helped the drainage in this area. And that concludes my presentation, unless anyone has any questions. Thank you.
And Mr. Toops, we do have a gentleman who filled out a speaker card concerning pumps, and I think now may be a time to call Mr. Jim Mitchell up, if you'd like to address the pump station, I think, on Texas Gulf Road. Mr. Mitchell, go ahead and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jim Mitchell. I live at 215 Guidry Street in Burke, and my wife and I have lived there for 27 years. And the problem that I see is flash flooding that Mr. Toop was talking about occurring in my neighborhood. The pump station that we're all relying upon to keep our homes dry is located on Texas Gulf Road, and quite frankly, is being asked to do too much. I've been doing a lot of research and trying to educate myself on all the dynamics of this pump station and what it's being asked to do. And I was a little surprised, but I think everybody in my neighborhood would be really surprised that the pump station is being asked to not only drain our neighborhood, but several hundred acres of sugarcane fields that are important to the sugarcane farmer, but it's really causing too much of a demand on the pump station. And at the critical point in time, the pump station can't determine which one is the neighborhood water, which it should prioritize, but obviously it can't. But the cane fields are just constantly draining into the main canal that feeds into the back of the pump station. Steve and I have been addressing several of the, what I like to refer to as the lower hanging fruit of the problems that are associated with the drainage in our neighborhood. Steve and I have been trying to work on some some gate valves that are along the culverts that lead into our neighborhood. It's been recycling for years that when the water rises, it flows back through these culverts and it just sits there and wastes the pump's resources, and it inhibits its ability to get the water out of our neighborhood. It's just recirculating the water. But what the main issue is, in my opinion, is that there are large drainage canals, 15 feet wide, 10 feet deep, that are dug through the woods. They're tapped into the cane fields, and they all tie in to the drainage canal that feeds right up to the Texas Gulf pump station. Like I said, I've been here 27 years. Only the last 5 or 7 years is it where we're always worried about our homes getting water in it, and it's coming up to my front door on a regular basis. And I'm just slightly higher than my neighbors, the 3 neighbors that live up the street from me. And it's not a matter if it's going to flood. It's going to happen if something's not done. But just for what it's worth, the person who's going to flood first in my neighborhood, the absolute lowest person on Gidger Street, is the sheriff. Tim Saulnier's house lies in a little bowl right there on Gidgery Street. He's probably 2 inches lower than I am. I'm so fearful sometimes for our home that I look out the door and going, how is Tim not getting water in his house right now? It's that bad. I've spoken with Carl Leday from the Drainage Department, and I spoke this evening with Mr. Wallace Ellender, the farmer that farms that land. And everybody is interested in drainage and has a vested interest in it. And he wants to keep his fields dry, and I understand that. But at some point in time, barring a massive improvement to the drainage pump's ability to do what it needs to do, a decision needs to be made on what's more important, hundreds of people's home or a cane field. And to back up just a little bit, when the pump station was originally designed and built and implemented, there was a gate valve located fairly close to where those cane fields are now currently tapping into the pump station. I was informed by Carl Leday that twice those gate valves have been vandalized, destroyed, and removed from the property. And I don't know how you could correct that kind of a situation, but it's known by the Drainage Department that those gate valves that were installed there for a purpose of limiting the flow of the cane fields so that the pump could prioritize on the neighborhood, they're gone, it's known, and nobody's doing anything about it. And I've been trying through calling folks at the Drainage Department, I've been working with Steve, and I felt like my option tonight was to bring it to all of your attention and to respectfully request that inquiry is done into this. It's something, the root cause needs to be identified, and it needs to be taken care of in a proactive fashion, not wait until the home's flooding and then realize what's wrong with this. And I flew over the area for 25 years. I was a helicopter pilot. I saw all of the ditches and canals being dug that tied into that system. I consistently get out and run the neighborhood and ride my bike, so I'm seeing water circulating through the ditches, and it's a really messed up situation in a lot of ways that wouldn't take a lot of correction, but nothing's being done up to this point.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mitchell, for coming and bringing it to our attention and bringing it to administration's attention. Thank you for coming.
So are you guys going to officially kind of look into it? Can I expect that? Is that?
It's not specifically on our agenda to discuss.
Not tonight, but for future,
Right.
for something that needs to be looked into. So I'm not sure the exact formal process of how all this works.
Let me recognize Mr. Councilman Steve Trosclair.
Yeah, Jeff, just to reiterate what you've already said, as you said, we've been in discussion, and I've actually, the problem that we bumping our heads against right now is the legalities of blocking the cane field out, okay? And we are working on something with the drainage department and seeing the options of maybe trying to reinstall that valve or some type of valve system that we could regulate that water coming in. 'Cause the way it was supposed to design to work, that valve was going to be pitched back to a point where when you had a rainstorm event, the cane field wouldn't inundate the pump system until the level of the subdivision dropped down to a point where the valve, it would let the water back in. They could open and close it. As you stated, it was vandalized several times. They had to replace it twice. And then the parish just, at that point, I wasn't in office then, but from what I was told, the parish just pulled the valve out. Now we're looking at some other options. I'm being told, I didn't personally talk to our legal department, but the drainage department talked to legal, and we cannot legally block the farmland drainage out of our system because it was grandfathered in. I think at some point in time they're telling me that pump station was actually part of the cane field drainage system that they did a cooperative effort agreement with the parish, and they combined the two together. So that's what we're looking at right now. But
The cooperative, the pump station was built by the parish. What was the cooperative that you're referring to?
Originally, I'm being told, the original pump station, not particularly the one that's there, was actually built by the farmers and put in.
Well, I spoke to Wallace Ellen tonight, and I asked him that question, and he said that was not the case.
Well, that's what I'm being told by our drainage department. I wasn't there either.
And also, not to interrupt you, but I'm not asking to block off the drainage of the cane fields. What I'm asking is to control that flow of water so when it comes time to choose between homes or sugarcane, the right decision is being made. And it's common knowledge now that that gate valve is vitally important for that, and everybody knows about it, and nothing's being done about it. And it's unacceptable. And if it's just a regular screw-in gate valve, the location that it would be at would be virtually impossible to get to in a muddy situation. You can't get back there. So it would have to be something that would be automated. You can't have a screw valve that you can't get back there unless you got a four-wheeler, because it's in a very inaccessible place where that gate valve was originally installed. So
I know,
if it was installed there, who's going to go open and close it? How are they going to get back there? It's more than just, putting it there. It needs to be replaced, and it needs to be automated. And if it doesn't, our neighborhood is going to flood. And there's a lot of assumptions being made that this particular pump station was donated by someone, and that it was grandfathered into that. I don't know about all that, and it doesn't sound like you're really clear about it either, but I am clear about it.
Well, I am clear about what I was told.
But, Mr. Mitchell, this is the first time I've heard of it, and so I think the council is being abreast of this for the first time, and
Yes.
we're going to work together with Mr. Trosclair, and if we got to figure a solution. But thank you for coming.
Thank you. And one other thing, when can I expect some kind of follow-up, sir? To what I'm talking about tonight, if it's just going to go away, or is it going to be something that I can expect to hear from somebody about?
Mr. Toops has an answer.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Toops. Oops, hold on.
Joe, on behalf of the administration, I apologize to you for you feeling like you're the low fruit on the tree. Every house in the parish is important to us. You did speak to the right person, Mr. Carl Leday. He's in charge of that pump station. He is our forest drainage superintendent. However, with what you brought to light tonight, I will talk to his immediate supervisor, Mr. David Rome, and we will talk to Mr. Leday. We'll talk to legal, and we will explore whatever avenues we can to hopefully resolve your situation. if you want to give me your phone number or an email address, I can personally keep you posted on whatever developments we have regarding that pump station.
Yes, sir, I would.
Is that fair enough?
Yes, that's fair. I appreciate your help.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you all very much.
Mr. Amity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Going back to West Side, Mr. Toops was talking about flash flooding and how this new pump, along with the other two pumps, are really helping out the area. I just wanted to bring to light to the residents that there's still some more work to be done, as there's a project that's going to be done going down West Side Boulevard, changing all those culverts by the apartments and such that are also creating some problems. So please be patient with us as we get that thing completed. We're going one step at a time, and by the time it's done, you're going to see a real great improvement. With just what was done, it created a lot, and I want to thank Ms. Domingue for working with me and Parish President Dove to try and push that through, and we appreciate all that's been done on that. I just want to let the public know there's some more stuff coming. That's not the last of it. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Mr. Michel.
I just have two comments. One, for the gentleman who was there, I agree with Mr. Trosclair and with everybody who's here. The problem needs to be solved, there's no question, but we can't solve one person's problem by imposing it on someone else. So we need to solve the problem and not just transfer it. Also, the big issue that we're having in Broadmoor right now is, and also across the bayou in Bayou Cane, is the lateral ditches are not being cleaned out. And I shouldn't say they're not. Certainly sometimes they are. They have been. But I get pictures literally every week with someone complaining about the ditches behind their house not being cleaned out and whatnot. So, yes, sir, you have a comment?
Yeah, Councilman Michel. If you report the issues to drainage and you don't have satisfactory answers, please let me know, and I will personally get involved. But if we need to know, if I don't know, I can't help the problem. So if you send emails to David or Carl, copy me, and I will make sure that that it's being followed up on.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Yeah, sure. And they do follow up. And I guess what I'm hoping for, is that maybe we can get some sort of and maybe there is some sort of a regimen that it's perpetually taken care of. But and don't take it as a complaint. I'm just bringing it up since you're talking about, because y'all they've done a great job, and the people of the neighborhoods there are incredibly appreciative of this system that y'all are putting in that is going to ultimately help. So thank you for that. But I just wanted to mention that.
To answer your question or your comment, we do have a schedule to maintain all of the lateral ditches as well as all the roadside ditches. The issue is, the problem is that we only have so much equipment, so many men, and whenever we have problems, we get pulled off of our regular schedule to handle those problem areas, and the schedule tends to slip. But we do have a schedule to maintain all of the laterals and all of the roadside ditches throughout the parish.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr.
Okay, sir.
Mr. Babin.
Yeah, since we're talking about areas, I want the people out there watching this tonight to know on Brady Road and Shrimpers Road that we've been talking about fixing their problem for over a year. And I know it takes time, but as I said a couple weeks ago when we had a rainstorm, when I was on Shrimpers Road, if I did not drive a Jeep, I could not have gotten through the road because the water was over the running board in my Jeep. So for the people on Shrimpers Road and the people on Brady Road, where we constantly flooding, I got 4 calls from Brady Road this week. And we need to get some resolve for these people as well. So Mike, I appreciate you putting that on your priority list. Thank you.
Mr. Harding.
Yes, when the report was given in reference to over by St. Louis Canal back on the west side and all those, and Alma Street and stuff like that, and my thoughts was, the water's being pumped from one spot to another spot. And oftentimes we have situations that we have members of the public, and especially in my area, in the Gibson area, think that they are on lower end of the totem pole and seem as if that everybody is dumping on themselves, on them. So, I think the overall scheme that I'm understanding is the fact that we have larger pumps down in the Gibson area, and the amount of money in Elliott Jones, and we have Hanson Canal. But I think with that being a long-term fix of our water problem, we still have to deal with the water that's going to the other folk. So lateral ditches, I agree with that, you know what I mean? And I also want to piggyback on Mr. Amadi saying that, you know what I mean, we're doing the best we could, and there are some circumstances that, you know what I mean, lack of knowledge is, you know what I mean, no understanding. So we want to put out there to the people that we're trying our best to do it, and that's for the gentleman down Berg. I have another gentleman in Aldon has a similar situation that we've been trying to work out, which actually causes a problem with the people in Gibson. So we've been trying to work that out also. So hopefully we all can get it all together, you know what I mean, as a whole, and what's best for the parish. Thank you.
Mr. Toops?
Yeah, thank you for your comments, Councilman Harding. We still have not been given the authority to operate the Hanson Canal pump station yet. The contractor is still working on it. Once we get that pump station working and we get the Chacahula Basin pump down, that will greatly help everybody in your area. And then once we get the Elliott Jones pump station up and running, which will probably be a year or so from now, you'll have another redundant system to help maintain the water level in that whole basin. So all of the smaller pumps will be assisted and greatly enhanced by these two larger pump stations, if you understand. So you got to remember that up until this past administration, nobody has ever fully addressed the issues in Bayou Black and Gibson. The Hanson Canal pump station and the Elliott Jones pump station will get rid of those problems once and for all.
And Mike, since we're on that, of course, the Hanson Canal and the Elliott Jones are the big picture items. You know, what Mr. Carl Harding is talking about are the smaller pumps that pump then into the system, which brings me to the Savan Road area. You know, we designed this little smaller pump system to kind of help subside until the big pump system could take over. You know, we finished an area around South Ellendale to the rifle range. We cleared out, we got the funds in place. We cleared out the area over a year ago to just extend the levee so we could close the system, which, you know, is a hole in that system. And that clearing has been there over a year with no type of levee being built, nothing, just, you know, the funds are there, the money's there, and we keep being told the contractor's busy, the contractor's busy. When can I anticipate that final closure by the rifle range for those people? And I know it's a low-income people who live there, but they deserve just as much protection as wealthy people. When can they expect their protection for that area of Savan Road?
I don't have an answer tonight on that, but I can definitely check with Mr. Rome and Mr. Dove, and I will get back to you with an answer as soon as possible.
Please do. I think the residents have been very, very patient.
I agree with you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Toops. We have a motion to go into public hearing with Mr. Babin. Second by Mr. Gerald Michel. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're into 6:30 public hearings. Item A, an ordinance to revise certain portions of Section 8-2 and 8-3 of the Terrebonne Parish Code of Ordinances pertaining to the days and times associated with the public display and sales of fireworks. We have a speaker card, Mr. Floyd Bergeron. Mr. Floyd, please state your name and address for the record.
Floyd Badge on 201 Kelly Drive, Buquet Subdivision. This is the second time I came over here the last time with handfuls of debris. Now, Mr. Babin, if you would have witnessed, and Mr. Guidry, if you would have witnessed, and the sheriff would have witnessed the misery we went through New Year's Eve, I wouldn't be here tonight because this wouldn't be on the agenda. Now, why this? Now, this sheriff, he took office June 1st of 20. And then the 15th of October that same year, you got an ordinance all filled out. But then it says in several places, The general public has expressed an interest in enjoying fireworks. Several places. Now, Mr. Babin, you told me, and my wife was listening on the phone, that you and the sheriff went in every district in Terrebonne Parish and talked to people, and nobody said anything negative about the fireworks. And I don't care what you say. You can say I'm
Floyd,
dreaming,
please,
but my wife
Ms.
was
Floyd,
listening on the phone.
Please address the council as a whole and not an individual councilman, please.
Like I said, this is listed in several places, and then it says here that the council and the sheriff believes that the sale of fireworks is approved. Wouldn't do any harm at all. But let's put it this way. Why the city of Homer was left out? You know why? Because it's a gigantic subdivision. Butte is a subdivision. Now, if y'all want to pass this tonight, put it asterisk ordinance in there. Butte subdivision is susceptible to the same rules as the city of Homer. Listen, we went through some misery. And on top of that, the following night at 6:30, they started shooting them all over again. And guess what? I called the sheriff's office, and nobody came. They wasn't supposed to be shooting them. Nobody came. And why is this done so fast? I mean, in the period of 3 months, this sheriff is elected, and he wants money for the fireworks. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Something stinks. That's my personal opinion. I'm going on 89 years old, and I'm pretty damn smart. I got good common sense, but something stinks there for something to happen that fast. And this makes it even more. Y'all know what a shadow corporation is? Y'all, Mr. Babbitt should know. I mean, he knows what I'm talking about. This is a shadow corporation in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Somebody bought a little bitty piece right on the other side of Barbrew Road and paid over $600,000 to be open 2 days a year. That's something smells, huh? So if you want to do something for the people of Bicane, and maybe the other subdivisions want it too, put it in there tonight that we are exempt from fireworks, just like the city of Homer. And if you think Terrebonne Parish is in good shape, I watched the state medical officer this afternoon. The positivity rate in Terrebonne Parish is going up 2%.
I'm not giving it.
We have a motion to extend by Mr. Gerald Michel. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Okay, I'll start
Another
over
minute.
again. State health this afternoon. Positivity rate for the virus is going up 7.2% in Terrebonne Parish. Number one in the state.
Does that got to do with his speaker card?
No. Anything else real quick about the fireworks ordinance that we're discussing here tonight?
Only not even 25% of the people have been vaccinated in Terrebonne Parish.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Floyd.
very much.
Any more public? Public once, public twice, third time public. Do you want to address that before we close public hearing, Danny?
It's not worth it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Amity, do you want to speak in public hearing? Go ahead.
Well, let's close the public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing?
Motion to
by
close
Mr.
public
John Amity.
Second.
Second by Ms. Jessica Domingue.
Motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. John Amity.
Second.
Second by Ms. Jessica Domingue. Any discussion?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Suzette, you handed us copies of all the ordinances that we're doing tonight. What changed? Is there something? I mean, I don't want to read them all.
Hold on. Go ahead, Ms. Suzette.
There was no major change to the structure of the ordinance. However, the legal department requested that we add an additional signature on the ordinance. So I wanted y'all to see that there's a signature line on the ordinances now that includes the signature of the parish president or his designee, Mr. Mike Toops. It was not published like that initially, so when there's ever a change or something, we try to give you a copy of it so you know exactly what's being adopted.
Okay. Then I guess Mr. Aber, Because I'm looking at the signature line, and it's where the parish president approves or vetoes the ordinance. Can that be designated to someone else?
Mr. Abear? Your mic's on. Or was. Go ahead.
Yes, in my opinion, it can be designated to the parish manager, chief administrative officer, Mr. Michael Toops.
And that's based on, and the reason, look, I want you to, reason why
Based
I'm,
on, to get to the chase real quick, it's based on the charter, it's based on Attorney General opinion and case law.
okay, can, just as a favor, can you get that to me? And let me tell you why I'm asking. We've got some hot topic ordinances, and when we're deviating from the norm, I don't want to give anybody any room to challenge what we're doing.
Technically, the parish president does not even have to sign the ordinance unless he wants to veto it. So the parish president.
Right, if he lets it sit, it automatically
It
goes.
it automatically passes. So I'm just saying, but other than that, I did provide, this is not on the agenda for discussion, so I try to follow what the open meetings law says. And I did provide a legal opinion to your chair today. I don't know if he shared it with.
I did. I really didn't know this would come up, and we just got the
Yeah,
legal
and
opinion.
I'm asking that we should not even be discussing this, but I did, Mr. Amade, in all deference to you, he's got the opinion, it's well addressed, well highlighted, and I did share the
Thank you,
AG
Mr.
court
Hebert.
case. You are.
And I will share that opinion. Anything else?
No, sir,
John?
thank you.
Mr. Michel?
Well, first of all, I mean, you did not, and I don't think you said this, I just want to clarify, you did not say that the parish manager could sign something vetoing it.
Your mic's
That
still on.
wasn't the question. The question was, could the parish manager sign off and approve the ordinance? And I said yes.
Okay.
That was my opinion.
Yeah, because nobody has to sign off. It's just,
Technically, nobody has to
Right.
sign off, but that's not the reason. The reason is our home rule charter, the signing of the ordinance is an executive function delegated to the executive branch. Those duties can be, since the parish president has both general and special executive authority, and because the charter says those duties can be delegated to others within, under his supervision, it is my opinion that he can delegate somebody to sign on his behalf. It's nothing but a power of attorney and mandate, and that was backed up by an attorney general's opinion and a court case, and that's been cited.
okay, since that wasn't the question, I'll ask the question. Does that apply to vetoes as well? Can the parish manager sign a veto?
I think the parish manager can be delegated that authority. Yes, he could. If he was instructed by the parish president to sign a veto, then I think he could, yes. And and he gives the reasons why it's vetoed, if that's what the parish president instructed him to do, okay? For example, the parish president, suppose the parish president's out of town and there's a deadline, okay? So, yes, as long as the parish president delegates that authority and it's done with his approval, yes. And again, Mr. Chair, we're way out of line on this. This is not part of this agenda.
Yes, and I don't know how to do this, Mr. Aver, because we just got a change in the ordinances, and if we're I don't know if we're talking about the language of the ordinances, does that make a difference in the passing of the ordinances?
No, it does not. There's not the ordinances. This is a signature line. This is not. This is not the substance of the ordinance.
Okay.
So why is this being discussed?
Well,
For a signature line.
then I'm going to say.
Because we want to make sure that we're within our legal rights.
Hold on, Mr. Amity, go ahead and say that.
We just want to make sure that we're within our legal rights because we don't want anybody to challenge it. They got some hot topics that people, let me tell you, they're doing some unusual things, and I don't want to have to go back and do something. So we're kind of deviating from the norm. I want to make sure all our bases are covered. That's why.
I like I said, Councilman Amadei, I thought that opinion was shared with y'all.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it wasn't. That's why I asked the question.
I'm not.
If
it's
it
not on the
was,
agenda. I'm just trying to
right.
stick with.
If it was, I'd have called you personally, sir. But it was just handed to us, so I thought something changed.
I did not.
Miss.
Okay, and
wait, I'm sorry,
one other
Mr.
thing.
Michel still has the floor.
I would ask publicly for Sheriff Soignier to be sure that the Sheriff's Department is has the manpower and is monitoring the situation where people are using fireworks outside of the designated times. Thank you.
Ms. Domingue?
Yes, just to get back to the agenda item, there was one change in this, and that was the actual fireworks stands being open, the times. And in our backup, it actually said that we were more restrictive than the rest of the state. And so this was actually putting us more in line with the state of Louisiana with their fireworks stands. And so that's why I believe this was actually put on the agenda. So just to kind of clarify what we're voting on. Thank you.
And I think the change is actually on the times of the sales of fireworks. It doesn't have anything to do with the use of fireworks. Chris, can you, just so everybody understands what exactly the change is, because this is, this is not legalizing fireworks or anything. This is just changing an ordinance that is existing.
Correct. We didn't modify anything having to do with the times and days associated with the discharge of fireworks, like an individual wanting to set off fireworks. We did modify the hours on the public display of fireworks, so we're talking about the big fireworks shows. Just, it was a little bit confusing the way it was worded previously, so we clarified some of that language. And then what seemed to be causing the most confusion was the date and time that we specified that fireworks could start being sold in the parish. So we changed that to be in line with the states. And then we also modified the language of the certificate of insurance for liability to be, it's still overall the same $5 million policy, except it's done as a $1 million policy with an excess liability policy of $4 million. So it still has the $5 million coverage, and that was vetted through our risk management department.
And my request from administration is we need to do a good job of educating the public before July 4th, because first of all, the people in the city don't realize it is not legal in the city. And second of all, it is only legal in those times. They think if it's available to be bought, you can buy it, go home and use it. You can't. You got to buy it and you got to hold it until those specific times, and it's a narrow window. And I don't think we did a good job of educating the public. They were totally confused. And so, I ask if there's anything IT or anything we can do through Facebook and such as early as possible to let them know that it's legal. What is the exact time for July 4th?
Well, as far as the discharge?
It's discharge, not sales.
Let me see. I'm not sure if I have that information in front of me in this exhibit. I don't. It's really more. Well, that's the public display. I think the individuals, is a little bit different.
Well, check on that. I'm going to ask Mr. Danny Babb. I'll give my light to Mr. Babb while you're looking that up, but I'd like to.
I think what we can do is we're the ones issuing the vendor permits, so we could provide those vendors with information that they can put on display at the stands. So
that would be great.
It directs the public
that
for
would be
days
great.
and times when you can pop off, I think is the term most people tend to use. But pop off fireworks, it's okay.
It's on Exhibit A.
Oh, hold on, Mr.
Oh, yeah. Between dusk and 10 p.m. on January 1st, between dusk and 10 p.m. on July 4th, and between dusk on December 31st and 1 a.m. on January 1st. So for this July 4th that's coming up, dusk to 10 p.m. So after 10 p.m., can't shoot them off.
So from dusk to 10 p.m. on July 4th.
Correct.
So that's the only window. So,
Except
watch
for
the
the
dogs for
public
that short
displays.
amount of period, but outside of that period,
Yeah.
we shouldn't have any issues. Thank you. Mr. Babin.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, whenever we get something from legal, and you said you sent it to the chairman today, I don't think it's fair for us to have to take a vote on something that we didn't even find out about yet, okay? So I'm just asking, in the future, we have time limits on things that we have to put in for as a council and to get on an agenda. So I'm asking that we get our information in a timely manner. Second thing is, and no disrespect to the parish manager at all, why is this changed now after 5 years, 5.5 years in office? I don't quite understand that one. But, and I don't have any problem with Mike signing off on it. I really don't. It's just the idea of why is the change now? Simple and pure. Thank you.
And again, I apologize. This is been developing. This all happened kind of late here, and you know, I wasn't able to share that. It really wasn't. I knew the issue was not on this particular agenda. So, but I will share it with everybody. Mr. Aber, did you want to address Mr. Babin?
So, Mr. Babin, I know, Mr. Babin, I got these. Darren told me late yesterday afternoon, last night, I'd be getting the questions. I got the questions, and I started looking at them last night and had to research it this morning and then write the opinion. So I got it very late, and I did it. He had it.
He did do it very quickly. I do admit.
Very quickly, and he had it by 12. Sometimes right after 12 o'clock today. So I sent it to him. I thought it would be spread around, and that's. Normally, I include everybody on there. I sent it to Darren, and I thought it would be spread around. But I did it as fast. I just got it last night, so it was done very quickly. Darren knows that.
And Jules, I appreciate that, and I don't have a problem with it. But as an elected official, we have to sit up here and vote on things, okay? So I just want to make sure that before I cast a vote, I understand everything that's going on. And that's all I'm saying, all right? Thank you.
And, okay, so do we have a motion to adopt this?
We have the motion. She seconded it.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this ordinance passes. Item B, an ordinance to authorize Parish President Gordon Dove to enter into and ratify a cooperative endeavor agreement between DDC, DTBA, TPCG, and TGMC for the purpose of developing and operating a farmers market at the downtown marina called Market at the Marina. Public once. Any public twice. Third time public. Motion to close by Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mrs. Gerald Michel. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion to adopt by Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mr. Gerald Michel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Item C, an ordinance to amend the Parish Code of Terrebonne Parish by adding to Chapter 18, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Article 4, Operation of Vehicles, Division 2, Parish, and to amend Section 18-91 to 25 miles per hour along Country Drive from Nate Lane to 4408 Country Drive to provide for installation of said signs, to amend ordinance number 8645 to change the name of Belanger Street to Nate Lane as previously adopted. By ordinance number 6445 and to provide for other related matters thereto. Public once, public twice, third time public. Oh, hold on, Mr. Trosclair.
Yeah, I want to ask that we pull this from the agenda tonight and reintroduce it. There's some language that needs to be corrected between the old ordinance and this ordinance. It's not correct.
Okay, can we get a motion to close public hearing first?
I thought we did, I'm sorry. Motion to close.
Motion to close public hearing, Mr. Trosclair, seconded by Mr. Michel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And you would just like to table this?
I just want to table it, and then we'll reintroduce it
No.
at a later date.
No action necessary. Thank you. Anybody cares to make any motions before? All right, we don't need any motion. We've taken no action on this. Item D, an ordinance to create the North Terrebonne Recreation District, defining the boundaries and the governing authority thereof in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statutes 33:4562 et sec. Regarding recreation districts, creation by parishes, corporate status, powers, and domicile, providing for other related matters in connection with the foregoing. We do have a speaker card, Mr. Lloyd Poisson. You were on item F. Oh, sorry about that. Public once? Go ahead and state your name and address for the record, if you don't mind.
Arnold Adams, 161 Bon Jovi Boulevard, Gray, Louisiana.
As a resident of Gray and a member of the Gray Improvement Committee of Gray, we're in opposition of the merger of Recreation District 1, 2, 3, 8, and 9. Also, as a former board member for Recreation District 1 for 32 years, serving in the chairman of the board for 14 of those 32 years, Recreation District 1 have done very well in addressing the public and maintaining its buildings and parks of the Recreation District 1. We thank you.
Thank you. Any more public? Public twice? Third time public? Motion to close, Mr. Gerald Michel. Second, Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Gerald Michel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Adams, thank you for being here. Thank you for your service in Rec District 1. You've done a great job for many, many years, and we are grateful. I've been to some meetings with you, and we're grateful for everything you've done. Thank you. And I want to make perfectly clear to you and to everyone watching this that I am absolutely opposed to consolidating these 4 rec districts. Absolutely, okay? However, a faction of this parish has convinced me that we deserve to let the people of the parish of these 4 rec districts vote on it and decide on it. What we're doing tonight is just a step in doing that. We have to do this first, because if we're going to put something on the ballot, it has to be for a purpose, okay? It has to be for an entity, and that entity would be this newly created North Recreation District. We're doing nothing more than creating the scenario that allows us to review language to put on the ballot. So this is step 1 in about 10 steps, okay? Step 2 is going to be looking at the language for the ballot, for the tax for this consolidated district, and being sure that the public is aware that their vote for this tax is going to yield a consolidated North Terrebonne district, okay? And your job, sir, and my job as someone who's also against it is to go out and educate people on what this means and how this is going to, in my opinion, not be beneficial for the communities of Terrebonne Parish, okay? So, but I did make a promise that it's going to go to the ballot, and assuming we can get the language correct, okay? This is the first step. By itself, what we're doing tonight in approving this, if we approve it, does absolutely nothing. So I just want to make sure that you and other people are aware that I have not changed my position, but I do believe that the people have a right to vote, and this is the first step to getting that accomplished. And so, yeah, we haven't closed public hearing yet, okay?
We have closed public hearing, but we do not have a motion yet to adopt. Mr. Carl Harding.
Great speech, Gerald. And also, I appreciate Mr. Arnold Adams and the services that he had in the Gray area with Rec District 1. I also welcome the Gray community who's represented here tonight. And former Council 2 Representative Mr. Wayne Thibodeau. In this, Section 4, termination of the districts, as is written. And I have a problem with the word each compared to any. It states that Section 4, termination of districts, if the registered voters with the boundaries of each of Terrebonne Recreation Districts, number 1, number 2, 3, number 8, and number 9, fail to approve an ad valorem tax for the purpose of providing financial support for the operation. The word each, I got a problem with that because I'm under the assumption each has to have it vote against it for it to fail. But then I prefer the word any because it sounds more simpler to me.
Mr. Harding, can I comment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mr. Michel on
yield to
Mr.
Mr.
Harding's light.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Harding, the word any would specifically say any, meaning any one of the four. We don't
Right.
want to do that. Okay, each of them have to approve it. Each means every one of them. We certainly don't want to use the word any.
Well, if anyone actually,
No, they're saying who needs to
Each-
approve it, not. They're
it
saying
says
who needs
each
to approve
Terrebonne
it.
Parish.
Yes, sir.
each of them,
Need to approve it. That is correct.
each of them need to approve.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But then I just wanted to clarify that what we was sticking to the original process that we were understood that any one of the four can actually nullify this merger. Right. Not just each has to pass it. That's what I want to clarify.
Ms. Malden, do you want to clarify that for Mr. Harding?
Yes, sir, I can. Yes, sir, that is correct. So this language in here was to help kind of reiterate what was approved. When the language for the proposition is presented, it will specifically state in there exactly what y'all said, that every 4 districts has to approve for this to even move forward. So that language will be in the proposition that's going to the vote of the people. That'll clarify it even further. But we are moving forward with the way that this council had suggested us doing with creating the North District and then coming with the proposition, and that each district has to approve it for it to be able to go forward.
But that's what I wanted to go out to the people to have that understood that way, because it'd be more clarified than what it is right here.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead.
And when we get to the point with the proposition, we'll make sure that that language, because that is what they particularly are going to be voting on. So we'll make sure it states it very clearly in there.
Okay.
We have to approve it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Motion adopt.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt by Mr. Gerald Michel, seconded by Ms. Jessica Domingue. Ms. Domingue?
I just want to thank Mr. Gerald Michel because he did an excellent job explaining that. So thank you, Mr. Michel.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have to show one name, Mr. Steve Trosclair. Ordinance has passed. Item E, an ordinance to amend the 2021 adopted operating budget, 5-year capital outlay budget, and budgeted positions of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. Petit Caillou Drainage System Project, $50,775. La Petite Improvement Project, $250,000. Homa Fire Department Firehouse Subgrant, $16,857. Road and Bridge Signs, $230,000. West Alma Street Drainage, a credit of $65,167. West Alma Street Drainage Project, $1,369,783. Civic Center Stage Weights, $19,300. Homa Fire Department, $1,577. Transit, $3,433. Reclass several CDBG recovery projects, net effect 0. Juvenile detention, $7,870 to delete a full-time social worker and add a full-time assistant director. 9 district recreation, O&M, $59,109 to add 2 part-time groundsmen. Public once. Public twice, third time public. Motion to close by Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion to adopt by Mr. John Amity, seconded by Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Item F, an ordinance to update and restructure Chapter 21, Article 5 of the Terrebonne Parish Code on recreation districts by amending Section 21-90 to include budgeting for the rec districts and enacting Sections 21-94 through 21-98 to provide consistency throughout the rec district. Mr. Lloyd Poisson. And please state your name and address for the record, Mr. Lloyd.
Lloyd Poisson, 103 LeConte Lane, Houma, Louisiana. I'm also the chairman of Recreation District 10. I was asked to come here to ask a question about this ordinance, not only by some of our board members, but a couple of other districts. And the question was whether or not you guys could put this off for, say, 90 days, 60 days, 90 days, in order to bring it to the advisory committee so that we could ask some questions, have a presentation by Mrs. Malden, and you know, as far as the budget deal, and because we're not in opposition of this. It's just that this was thrown at us. We did not have not one recreation member on this modernization task force, and that's where this came from. We had somebody that was appointed from the Recreation Advisory Board that was on the task force, but never brought any of this information back to us. So it would have been nice to give us the opportunity to listen to Mrs. Malden and whoever else is, Mr. Roddy, and where we could ask some questions. Because I'm gonna tell you, since I was asked to come here, I spoke to 2 council members, Mr. Babin and Mr. Michel, and both of them answered some questions that I had concerns about, and really I don't have those concerns anymore. So, but that doesn't take care of the rest of the board members and the rest of the district. So give us the courtesy of at least giving us 60 days. And the reason why I'm saying 60 or 90 days is because all the boards only meet once a month, and the advisory board only meets once a month. Okay, so that way we'd have a chance to bring it back to our boards and see if they have any concerns, and then we'll come back to you, and we may not need to change anything because there's a lot that's involved in this ordinance. So that's why I was asked to come here. There's no sense in me standing here trying to hash out what's good and what's bad in it. It'd take a lot longer than 3 minutes to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd.
Thank you.
Mr. Michaud, did you want to make a comment? Okay. Public twice.
Hi, everybody. Craig Luke, Director of Rec District 4 down in the Grand Caillou-Dulac area. Short and brief, basically I concur with the same premise that everything Mr. Poinson brought up. Just some basic a question and answer session to where we can maybe tweak a little bit of the language, have some assurances, certain scenarios may arise, and just so that we could have just a little bit of input before the ordinance is actually passed. And that's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public? We have a motion to close public hearing by Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Second.
Second by Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Michel.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen, thank y'all for coming. I really do appreciate it. I think y'all know that I've been behind recreation unwaveringly for the last 5 years, okay? And that's not changing tonight, okay? And now, I think the other thing we need to keep in our line of sight is that, assuming we pass this ordinance this evening, it doesn't mean that tomorrow y'all have to start doing things differently, okay? What we're trying to do with this ordinance, we've had meetings over the last couple of months, and one of the things was, okay, let Ms. Malden and Mr. LaReal start to prepare policies and procedures and whatnot. Well, they didn't exactly know where to go with that. And they didn't want to spend 6 months on it for us to come back and say, no, that's no good. We got to start over, or half of your time was wasted. So when 4 weeks ago I was presented with an ordinance, I looked at the ordinance and I said, this is too much. This is too restrictive. This is something for everybody to disagree with. Okay, so up to that point, I didn't have a whole lot of to do with the ordinance. And I said, you know what, if I'm going to complain about it, then I'm going to sit down and try to resolve the problems, okay? So first of all, I thank Ms. Jessica for bringing this to our attention. When they first did the task force, the
modernization.
Yeah, the modernization task force, when they first did that, I was the first one to say they're just going to come back here and want to consolidate the northern districts, okay? And then when they did it, they did exactly what I expected, but they did a whole lot more. They came up with some very reasonable items, and so 4 weeks ago we looked at those reasonable items, and I found that they got expanded to be incredibly restrictive, and I was not pleased with them. So I sat down, and again, thanks to Miss Jessica for starting the ball rolling. But I would especially like to thank Mr. John Amity, Mr. Danny Babin, Miss Malden, Mr. LaReal, for getting together and talking about the needs and what the process could be. But keep in mind that we vote for this. This is not something that starts next month. We're anticipating that we should have everything in place hopefully by the end of the year, for the first of next year, okay? Because if we're going to change some accounting practices, we don't want to do that in the middle of the year. We do it fresh on a new fiscal year, okay? But especially, I want to thank, I also want to thank Mr. Nick Hebert, who was involved in those discussions, but especially I want to thank Mr. Michael Paul LaRussa, who brought this group together for us to sit down and look at these items. And it gave me the opportunity to be sure this is not something that the council and the parish is going to have their thumb on recreation districts. Recreation districts need to have autonomy to make their own decisions to a great degree. Okay, there needs to be some cooperative, some cooperation amongst the parish and the recreation facilities, and there needs to be some uniformity to make things just easier to assess. But my objective was never to make y'all feel like y'all had a thumb on y'all. Okay. During the course of this time, if y'all want to, and y'all should, bring it to the advisory board. I'll be glad to go as well. I'm sure Miss Candace, I'm sure Mr. LaReal, I'm sure Miss Jessica, I'm sure anybody would be willing to go and discuss it with y'all as well. If something jumps out that's problematic, and there's nothing that says we can't come and make an amendment to it, okay? And I'm just asking you, I've been behind y'all, you know that, and I'm asking you to trust me on this, okay? Because if there's something, and I'm gonna be, if I think you're wrong, I'm gonna tell you, okay? And you can tell me you disagree with me, and that's okay too, okay? But I promise if there's something that we agree that is problematic, I'm gonna do what I can to help y'all bring it to light and make a change if it's necessary. So, and with that, I'd like to make the motion to move this.
We have a motion by Mr. Michel, seconded by Ms. Domingue. Ms. Domingue?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Lloyd and Mr. Craig, for coming here tonight. And once again, I agree with everything that Mr. Michel said. Tonight's a very special night because I've agreed twice with him. The intention, though, guys, has always been to include the Parish President's Advisory Board and include you guys as members of the rec districts moving forward in creating the policy manual. And then the meetings that we sat through and the meetings I've had with Miss Candace and, had with Mr. Hebert is that we were going to give until the end of the year to really solidify everything and solidify all the policies. So once again, as Mr. Michel said, this isn't going to happen overnight. This is a fluid process, and so we want to work with you guys, and we want to make sure that this is perfect. It is new, and it's big, and it's kind of changing the way we've thought about things and the way that we've done things in the past. But just know that the intention has always been for us all to work together to move forward on this. So thank you very much, and we look forward to those meetings.
Mr. Amity?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to add, because this is just the start. It's like the framework. This is not the complete document, guys. What we agreed to as a council is we're going to create a policy manual, and that manual is going to be adopted. This just gives something that it can be adopted into. And part of that procedure, that pathway forward, is once administration puts together a particular section, then they're going to bring that back to us. But part of their process in that is to go to the advisory meeting, describe what's taking place, hear your input, and then once they've got all those answers, then they're going to put together something and bring it to the council. And we're going to be doing just like the budget process. We're going to take a section. If that section's good, then we're going to adopt it into that manual. And into that manual, if something needs to be tweaked, we're going to readdress it. We just wanted to have the framework so that we can start bringing it and building it. And like my colleague said, the goal is to at least have it done before the end of the year. We'd really like to have it done before that to give you some time to make any of the adjustments that you're going to need to make. So we'd really like to get it together before that, because like Mr. Michel said, we'd like to implement the changes by the first of the year so that we're not having to do it in the middle of the year. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Harding.
Yes, and I feel as if that you guys have a legitimate right because the way it was set up, and then I've had conversations with a number of people that are on some of these recreational districts, and even some of the recommendations that are here, they have to be worked out because I don't totally agree with them. You have to understand, and just like my colleagues were saying, we have to iron this out. I feel that in some instances that too much is going to be put on the council, and I don't want the council to do that. That's why we have recreation districts. That's why we appoint people to these districts. I don't want the power to come out these districts, but then we have to find out what's better. I don't think Mr. Roddy LaReal should have more responsibility upon him. I think it could be collectively done. Most of these things are done are rather across-the-board items that they want to do. But then I can assure you that, that the President's Advisory Board, should have more input in there, which is a better representation from the boards themselves to get together and actually work with Ms. Doman and others that have been working on the modernization, A and B, whatever way you want to put it. So bear with us. I support you guys that have called me and give me your ideas. Therefore, and whenever it's possible for me to implement your ideas and assist the people that I represent, I'm going to do so. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just one little clarification. I spoke about Mr. Michael Paul LaRousse, and that's certainly true. But it was really Mr. Michael Paul LaRousse and Mr. Danny Babin who got me involved in this, and I am grateful for that. I know Mr. Babin doesn't need recognition, but I am grateful for it, and I want him to know it, and I want y'all to know it. Thanks.
Mr. Babin.
Yeah, just a brief. Every time we have a meeting to discuss this, By Delage is always represented here, and Grand Kai is always represented here. And I just want the people to know out there, I've been in talks with the people in Rec 9, with the people on the board and the president of the board, and I represent all of those areas, okay? It's been misconstrued that I said early on that the people I represent. Well, I do represent these people in By Delage and in Grand Kai who do a tremendous job with their recreation department. Rec 9 does a tremendous job with their rec. So when I say I represent all of the people in District 7, not just the ones in Rec 9, but I also have a portion of Rec 11. So I just want to thank you guys for your constantly coming before this board to make recreation in the whole parish better, because y'all know how good a job you're doing in your district, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, do we have a motion to adopt? Motion to adopt. We do have a motion to adopt in a second? Yeah. Okay, well then all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Motion to go back in regular order by Mr. Danny Babin. Second. Seconded by Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're back in.
Public wishing to address the council.
Which we do not have any speaker cards. We've used, so we're actually in regular order.
Yeah. Officially, you have to do it.
So committee reports. A, Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. John Amity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee meeting held on Monday, June 7th, 2021, which calls for 4 public hearings. Number 1, declaring a 2007 Dodge 1500 truck Unit 2139 from Roads and Bridges having a value of $5,400 as surplus and authorizing said item to be disposed of by any legally approved methods, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Second, adopt the 2021 adjusted millage rates for the parish property taxes subject to roll forward provisions, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021 at 6 p.m. Item 3, adopt millage rates for tax year 2021 with no roll forward provisions, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021 at 6 p.m. Is that right? 6? Okay. Providing, number 4, providing for the incurrence, I was just wondering why they were different. I'll get it later. Providing for the incurrence of debt and issuance of not to exceed $6 million aggregate principal amount, Parish of Terrebonne, State of Louisiana, Public Library Sales Tax bonds. The bonds prescribe the form, terms, and conditions of the bonds and the security therefore, designate the date, denomination, and place of payment of such bonds, provide for the payment of such bonds in principal and interest, approve and confirm the sale of such bonds, and provide for other related matters or for matters with respect to the bonds, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021 at 6:30 p.m.
Motion by Mr. Amity, seconded by Mr. Babin.
Yeah, I just want to
Ms.
clarify,
Malton?
the 6 o'clock is correct. When there is a roll forward, the legislative auditor requirements are that we have the public hearing held before any action is taken, so we do them 2 separate meetings. So the 6 o'clock is right.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Committee minutes are approved. Item B, Public Service Committee, Mr. Dirk Gidry.
I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Services Committee meeting held on Monday, June 7th, 2021, with the exception of agenda item number 8, resolution affirming that Nicholls State University and the Board of Trustees for the University of Louisiana System have satisfied its obligations in the April 9th, 1997 ordinance donating property at 235 Civic Center Boulevard and waives its right to rescind said donation, which calls for 3 public hearings. Also giving notice of intent to adopt an ordinance to amend the zoning map of Parish of Terrebonne as to rezone from R1 Single Family Residential District to R2 Two Family Residential District, 110 Banks Avenue, Lot 47, Block B, Mechanicville Subdivision, home of Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. Geraldine L. Miller and Giselda Williams, applicants, and call a public hearing on said matter for Wednesday, July 14, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Also introducing an ordinance to amend Chapter 26 of the Parish Code of Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana, relative to utility service rates and charges, and calling a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, July 14, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. And introducing an ordinance to create a no parking zone along the north side of Main Street, LA Highway 24, from the intersection of Boykin Street to the intersection of Hackberry Avenue, to provide for the installation of said signs, and calling a public hearing on said matter for Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021 at 6:30 p.m.
We have a motion by Mr. Dirk Gidry, seconded by Mr. Danny Babin. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We now have the resolution as a separate agenda item, which is,
What I need to make the motion to say.
to approve the resolution as submitted, as amended.
I'd like to make a motion to.
Oh, hold on, Mr. Amity, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution as amended.
And of course, the amendment just takes out the action of waiving the parish's rights to rescind said donation. So that last sentence is taken out of the now therefore. Other than that, it's the same resolution. We have a motion by Mr. John Amity, seconded by Mr. Gerald Michel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Show abstention from Mr. John Navy, Steve Trosclair, and Jessica Domingue. That has been adopted. Moving on. Notice of public meetings, approved council staff attendance of OPAO Executive Board meeting on June 17th through 18th, 2021 in Marksville, Louisiana. Moved by Mr. Gerald Michel, seconded by Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 6, appointment to various boards, committees, and commissions. The Consolidated Waterworks District, number 1, 2 expiring terms on 6/24/21, 1 representing District 5 and 1 representing District 6. Mr. Johnny Pislada expresses his interest in being reappointed to represent District 5, and Mr. Charles Browns expresses his interest to being reappointed to represent District 6. Motion to open, close, and reappoint by Ms. Jessica Domingue, seconded by Mr. Carl Harding. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item B, Terrebonne Parish Tree Board, 1 unexpired term and one vacancy due to a resignation. Mr. Wayne G. Semino submits an application and resume for consideration. Motion to open, close, and appointment, Mr. Michel, seconded by Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 7, vacancies of various boards, committees, and commissions. Veterans Memorial District, one unexpired term due to a resignation. Homa Terrebonne Regional Planning Commission, one vacancy due to a resignation. Recreation District number 3A, one expired term and one unexpired term due to a resignation. Recreation District number 6, one expiring term. Recreation District number 11, two expiring terms. Library Board, one expiring term. Hospital Service District number 1, two expiring terms representing a civic organization and the South Louisiana chapter of CPAs. Announcements, Parish President, anything, Mr. Toops?
Thank you.
Okay, seeing none. Council members' announcements, Ms. Jessica Domingue.
Yes, I would just like to take this opportunity to thank the council for their support in the Recreation Modernization Task Force. I also want to thank all administration and Parish President Dove for their support. This was truly a team effort to get this this done, and I look forward to seeing what happens in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Domingue. Mr. Harding?
Yes, there's a Juneteenth celebration at the Dumas Auditorium, and also the grounds of Rec 11 at the Dumas area, and simultaneously the Finding Our Roots Museum is collaborating with the NAACP to give a Juneteenth celebration. At this celebration, we're going to have free COVID vaccinations. Test clinic is going to be there. The Restore Outreach Center and Mary Perkins Cancer Center, they're going to actually do some screening over there too. So to everyone that's want to get a good time, have some good food, and actually have some health care provided for them, please come out on Juneteenth. That's June 19th at Dumas Auditorium and Finding Our Roots Museum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mrs. T. Trosclair.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask everyone to keep our law enforcement, firefighters, first responders, veterans, active and retired, and deceased in your thoughts and prayers daily. Thank you.
Mr. Babin?
Yeah, just to clear up a little misunderstanding that someone said earlier, for those still out there listening to us, the sheriff and I never did ride around and talk to people about the fireworks, okay? I would have been happy to ride around with the sheriff, but we never did. I've never been in his vehicle, nor has he ever been in mine. So I just wanted to clear that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Monthly engineers reports. As per Mr. Dirk Gidry, second Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Motion adjourned.
Most adjourned, Mr. John Amity. Second Mr. Danny Babin. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.